Hey there guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, some more updates for you. Well, just as I promised on last week's show, this Tuesday I am bringing you some more updates. And let me just say that if you haven't seen the show before, and if this is your first view or this is the first time here, this show is about every 6 months-ish that I update previous projects. I update, did they work out? Do I still like them? Did they break? Etc, etc. So there'll be a link down below to last week's show for the first set of updates, and as always on an update show, there will be the links to all of the shows that I'm updating. So feel free to browse around on them. So that's what we're going to do today. And the first update of today heads over to the bench with my Workbench plan stand. Well, back on September 25th of 2020, I brought you this project, and I have to say, this thing has been amazing. For a guy like me who does this show twice a week, I have a lot of notes. I have a lot of things that I scribble down and I use for reference later on. My notes for the shows go on here, or when I'm working on a project, my little notes that I have about the project go on here. And this has been great. But I found that when I came out to use it after it sat here for a week, because I only come out on the weekends to my shop here, but I would come out and I would find this stand like this, and all my stuff on the floor or hanging from the clipboard clip or the binder clips on here. And I realized at that point that the surface between the jig knob here, where the arms meet, they were too slick. So everything was just falling. So let me show you what I did to fix that. Okay, so we'll just loosen this here. And what I did in order to alleviate this, these arms from slipping out of the position that you set them in, is I backed the surfaces with sandpaper. 120 grit sandpaper. I sprayed the back of it with spray adhesive, and I stuck it on both sides with the grit facing each other on the inside of the arms. Now when you tighten it, the sandpaper bites against each other and prevents it from spinning. And it has worked great. Since I put the sandpaper on the inner surfaces of both pieces of each arm, this thing has not dropped down to the bench a single time since that day. Wherever I set it, that's where it stays, and that's the way I like it. So all in all, the project was a fantastic success. It works really well. It serves its purpose for me, and I still love it and use it every time I'm in the shop. There's not a day out here that I don't use it. So honestly, the update here, if you're going to make one of these, and you should, I'm telling you, you should, because they're handy as heck. But if you're going to do it, put some grit, 120 grit or more if you like, but I would be adhering sandpaper here between the arms to give them something to bite into to keep the positions that you set them in. Well, on April 2nd of 2021, I brought you a project being an iPad holder for your bicycle. And I know the day after April 1st, April Fools, no, I wasn't kidding. I actually made that, and it works great, because I use it while my bike is on a trainer and while it's stationary. Now, the update to the project is there isn't an update to the project. I changed nothing because I found the design to be perfect. It clamps to my handlebars beautifully. It sits exactly where I want it to. It holds my iPad exactly the way I want it to. So what the heck am I doing talking about it here on today's show? Well, the update is that I found another use for it. Because Sitting there pedaling on a bike is great and watching videos to kill the time or whatever, but it got kind of dull. How many videos can you watch on YouTube of people getting hit in the groin by an exercise ball? It only has so much longevity for me. It only holds my attention for so long. So what I found is that this rack on my handlebars actually fits my Kobo reader perfectly. And I mean perfectly. It's almost like I made it for the thing, and I fluked that totally. That was just a total accident. I didn't mean for that to happen, but it did happen. And because of that, now instead of watching videos, I can read a book while pedaling, and it has been just great. So I guess the update here is, if you looked at that show and thought, a rack for your iPad on your bike? Modify it. Change it up. How about your exercise machine? How about like an elliptical trainer? How about your rowing machine? How about your treadmill? How about any type of stationary unit where you would like to have hands-free devices there, such as your iPad or a reader? You could make that for those devices, and as I found out quite accidentally, my project fits the Kobo just beautifully. So now, instead of wasting my time away watching people fall off their skateboard, now I'm edumacating myself and getting smirked by reading. Wouldn't know it, would you? Okay, move on to the next clip. Well, it was December 15th of 2020, and I brought you this. What this is the JessEm Tool Company's micro adjustment for the router table system of theirs. And on the show on the 15th, I demonstrated how to install this, and I did a little bit of testing of it for its accuracy and that sort of thing. I have had several comments and questions about this micro adjust, questioning and asking if it is as good as what I said it was and if I still like it. And I can honestly say, without a shadow of a doubt, and I mean seriously, I love this thing. Many years ago, I had a micro adjust on my fence, and I rarely used it. That was on my Freud system. I rarely used it because I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't like the way it felt. It wasn't a smooth operating system. The accuracy wasn't that great, but I have been blown away with the JessEm unit by several things. One, its quality is top notch. It is through the roof. It's not cheap. You get what you pay for. And when you pay the big bucks for a tool like this, you would expect it to be high quality, and you would not be disappointed with this one. I have no regrets purchasing it. So the one thing is the quality. The other thing is how well it works. It's smooth operation, the way that you can dial it in exactly. And because it works so well now, the other thing that I'm pleased about with this unit is how much I actually use it. No more of this tapping the fence this way or tapping the fence that way. It's a matter of now turning the dial, getting what I want, and then locking it in place. What's the update on this? Some of you have been asking, do I still like it? I'm going to tell you, although I haven't done the review on the show yet, I'm going to wait a while longer. I absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend this unit. Well, our next update goes way back. Goes right back to November 17th of 2017. And on that day, I demonstrated to you guys how to make walking stilts. And I guess the update here for this one is I haven't broken my neck yet. I still use these stilts. Years later, I still use those exact same stilts in the exact same setup. However, I only use them for one night a year. and maybe that's why I haven't broken my neck yet. I use them for my Halloween costume. As a lot of you know, my wife and I love Halloween, and I made a Grim Reaper costume where I stand in the driveway, and now I'm this 9-foot tall Grim Reaper. And it's a lot of fun. The kids have a blast with it. The parents love it. Getting off the stilts at the end of the night, because you only use it that one night a year, is like that first time out on ice skates of the year. The next day your calves are kind of sore and you're achy a little bit, but that's just from lack of use. The update here is that those stilts are still amazing. They are still rock solid. They still, you don't feel wonky walking around on them. I wouldn't change a thing, not a thing on that build. Everything from the foot supports to the way the running shoes were attached to it, to the ratchet straps for the your shins, to using the old mountain bike tires as treads to give you some traction on the driveway and that sort of thing. I wouldn't change a thing. These things are absolutely fantastic, and I haven't broken my neck yet, which is a good thing. Well, not every update can be a positive one, and back in June, I brought you the repairing of a desk lamp. This is one of those things where the desk lamp used to be a clamp-on unit, and the clamp broke, and instead of throwing away the lamp, being one of those old school guys that believes in you can repair this instead of purchasing new, I made my attempt at repairing it, and the repair worked great. The lamp functions perfectly. It's fantastic. However, the problem here is that I did not make the base large enough. I didn't make the diameter of the circular base wide enough to support the gooseneck light. So what happens is, if you lean that light too far over to see what you're doing, yeah, she goes toppling over. And for me, in the lamp, I use a flat LED bulb. So it's toppled a few times, and it's been no big deal because that LED bulb is pretty darn solid with its plastic casing. No harm, no foul. I stood it back up, readjusted the neck, and went ahead with it. But if you are using old school glass lamps, there's a bit of a hazard there where if that thing falls, you could be breaking the light bulb, and you'd hate to see that happen. So for that project, the update here is, no matter what you're doing, if you're repairing a lamp and that sort of thing, do a little more testing. I didn't do enough testing on this one. And honestly, I will be remaking it because that light is extremely handy in my office there. But make the base sturdy enough and wide enough to give the lamp or whatever you're repairing the support that it needs to keep it from toppling over. My biggest fear here would be that a child would be at the desk using that lamp, it topples over and it breaks, and because a young child doesn't have the knowledge to not touch that lamp, they suddenly pick it up the wrong way and they hurt themselves on either the glass or God forbid, getting a shock from that lamp. That's a scary thought. So quite seriously, nothing wrong with the project. By all means, do your best to do home repair instead of purchasing new. That's what it's all about. Keep it out of the landfill and go back to the old school mentality of repairing things as opposed to just throwing them in the trash. But make sure that you're doing it in such a way that the project is usable. I think where the problem lied here is that if I would have replaced a base for a base, if this was a base lamp and the base broke and I made the base exactly the same, it would have worked no problem. But because I went from a clamp lamp to a base, I didn't allow for that change in operation, and well, you know the rest of it. So bottom line, just be careful with it, guys, and make sure that you're repairing it in a way that's safe. March 24th of 2017. I took an old cheap plastic pair or set of window blinds and removed all the slats and made them 1/8 inch thick poplar to make inexpensive wooden blinds for your window. How did the project work? It worked great. It worked great. And I have had fantastic response from that time till now on the show. However, there's always a however. In those blinds, there is a string. The string goes from the top right down to the bottom slat. And it goes through each individual slat all the way to the bottom. And when you pull the strings, it raises the blinds up. As you close the blinds and they tilt, what happens is, because I only drilled a hole in place for those strings, the blinds don't close quite as tight as what they could. Because, of course, the blinds kind of bind on the string, and the thickness of the string prevents it from closing all the way. It doesn't really affect their operation. However, they're not tightly closed. So the update here would be, instead of the holes drilled for those strings that run from the top to the bottom, I would suggest, and I have suggested to people who have asked, cut a slot. Don't go for just drilling a hole. It does cause closure issues. So from my liking, and it's just mine, I mean, you can do what you want. It depends on your skill set and your tools. For each one of those holes, I would still drill the hole. But from there, I would use a square across that hole, put a large spiral blade in the scroll saw, and just go up and down along that hole to make a slot. That way, when the groove or when the blind slat actually closes, that string inside has somewhere to go. It's not binding on it, it's not bending it, and the blinds can fully close. So I've made a point of telling everyone who have asked on the show about that, to make sure that they're aware so that they're not disappointed in the project. But I thought it would be a good one to add here on the show so that you guys know, if you're going to see the link below, if you watch that program and you want to try that for yourself, slots, not holes, slots for the vertical strings that control the blinds raising and lowering. And there you have it. 6 more updates from previous shows aired here on the channel. Guys, I would like to think that just by the sheer nature of me having this show, the fact that I film, produce it, etc., I'm a one-man show, and it can be taken very lightly. Or you can take it the way that I do. I have an obligation. I am exposing myself here and what I do in my shop to potentially millions of people around the world. And for me to have an update, let's just say one as important as the base of that lamp repair, to have an update like that and not bring it to your attention, in my mind, it's nothing more than irresponsible. That's just the way it is. I come out here with the best of intentions every week, twice a week, to give you projects that both A, I have fun with, and B, I think you would have fun with. And for me not to give you an update where it could either take away from your experience or cause a hazard with this lamp falling over, it's not right. And at first, when these update shows first came to light and I first started doing them, they were fun and quirky. And then I realized it also provided me an opportunity to make sure that you guys get all the information. There's a lot of people that say that I talk too much in my tutorials and that sort of thing. Well, I'm telling you, if I would have known then that the base was going to be too small on that lamp, I would have talked a heck of a lot more to give you more information as far as the size of the base. Guys, it doesn't matter. We're all here for a good time. We're all here to have fun, and we're all here to do it safely. So I'd like you to take these tips, and if you're interested in the shows, just keep them in the back of your mind. And when you're doing the show or the projects rather for yourself, just keep in mind these update shows, because there's always a lot of fun to be had. And now that I think about it, in the whole being responsible thing, I think it's important that I'm going to take these links for these update shows and not only post the original shows below, but go on to the original shows and post the links for the updates, so that anyone that are viewing those shows will automatically get the information that they need. And you know what? That makes everybody happy, especially me. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. These updates are just fun to do. They really are. They bring back a lot of memories of these projects and the fun that I had doing them, the laughs that I had. Some of them bring back blooper reels that happened. They're just a load of fun. And the fact that I'm able to give you more information to be able to have a better experience in your shop makes it all worthwhile for me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Click that bell and then you won't miss the notifications of future episodes of the show, like future updates. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed today's content, and I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays.